Psaki tells you that if you are banned from one social media platform, you should be banned off of them all. Right before saying that all your social media platforms should be public spaces. So we'll talk just a bit about that. Plus a lot of other stuff that goes on in censorship. That's gonna be a nice big one here. TPUSA banned Brandy Love because she's a porn star from one of their events, so we'll go over a little bit of what's going on with that. 5 Democrats from Texas who hopped a plane and traveled to the White House in Washington, D.C. have tested positive for COVID, so we'll go over a little bit of what's going on there, and we'll laugh just a little bit as well off of that. And a federal judge declares DACA program illegal, so we'll go over what that means and what could be the next step. It's going to be all this and more over on Contemporary. Hey, 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 do you trust the plan yet? I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we've got a bunch of stuff to get to today. We're at 39 tabs again on a Monday, which is, not uncommon because they try to cram a bunch of stuff in over the weekend where everyone's out with their family, nobody's paying attention to the news, and then plus we still had some stuff left over from the end of Friday's show as well, so we got a bunch, we got to get through it all, and we are going to talk about it all over here on Contemporary, because today I don't have to go to work after all this here, so let's just power through this and see what we've got going on, and what's happening with that around the world. This has been a wild weekend for news, definitely, and it's a weekend I haven't really been paying close attention, so if I miss something, it's because it got swallowed up by one of these other big stories here. But before we get started, head on over and check out my friends. The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The Freckles and Brit Show, The R-Rated Conservative, and The Generational Gap. Head over, check all of them out, come back and hang out with all of them, and watch for a new project that we have coming up that's going to help all of them come together as well and create a new way for us to support each other, cross our audiences, and start to bring you guys news from the people who work the same way that most of you do. People who have to go to work every day. People who didn't come from big amounts of money here. That was always my dream for the Freedom Scoop Media Group, and that's going to be the dream for the new project coming forward as well. So watch for some stuff coming up here. We've got some announcements. I've made almost everybody aware of what's happening here. So I've just got a couple more people to touch base with, and we are going to get this started, and we are going to have the vision that I wanted right here from the start. So go and check them out. Let's look at your finance for the day. Your Dow took a big drop on Friday. It started up and it ran up, and then the bottom fell out and it kept going throughout the day. Now it dropped less than 1%, so we're not going to come on here and say the economy is ending and this is a panic attack, but we had a slight correction. There's not a Republican in office, so we can't come back and panic about this, but there was a slight correction, so we'll talk a bit about what happened there. And it looks like the futures are going to be down as well, so we'll talk just a bit about what that could mean coming up throughout the day here. On your Bitcoin is at $31,565 US dollars and 10 cents, which means it had a nice jump up overnight because it was at 31.2 and some change when I looked this up last night. So the overnight was happy with the Bitcoin, so that's actually pretty good here. So we will continue to watch where that goes and what happens with that. But yeah, there's definitely some people that are trying to convince you not to go into Bitcoin right now. On your fuel. Madison area is still holding at $2.79 for most of its gas stations, but here in town, in Redacted, where I live, we have crested $3 a gallon. Now I was able to, because I did some road tripping this weekend, throw in a tank of gas, or at least $85 worth of gas, because that's what debit cards cap out at the Shell station that I go to. $85 worth of gas at $2.99, but that's going to be changing pretty soon too. So we got to pay attention to that. Our gas prices are going up as we go, and well, don't worry about the gas prices going up because we don't have any mean tweets anymore. Keep that in mind because that's the most important part of political discourse is no more mean tweets. So I'm sorry I brought that up. Just remember, no more mean tweets. Your inflation can skyrocket. Your gas prices can go up. We could still have months of unemployment ticking up, but hey, no more mean tweets. Aren't you excited? All right, let's see what IBD has to say here. Dow futures fall, indices weaken, but stock market reality worse. Tesla, FSD, OPEC Plus deal, Zoom video in focus from Ed Carson. Dow Jones futures fell sharply on Monday, along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures, amid growing concerns that the Delta coronavirus variant. The 10-year Treasury yield hit new lows while crude oil futures retreated following Sunday's OPEC Plus production deal. Zoom, late on Sunday, agreed to buy customer contact software maker Five9 for $14.7 billion. Zoom Video will pay 55.33 cents a share for each Five9 share, equal to about $200.28 as of Friday's close. That's a 13% premium to Five9 stock, Friday's close of $177.60. Zoom fell 2% before Monday's open, while Five9 jumped 8%. Tesla, over the weekend, launched a subscription option for its full self-driving driver assistance program as an alternative to paying a big fee up front. The stock market rally showed further weakness late last week, with Apple and other mega caps no longer providing cover. The major indices are starting to pull back, especially the Nasdaq, but other indicators are sending more negative signals, from declining market breadth to leading stocks coming under pressure. Energy stocks ran out of gas. Ha! I see what you did there. With Callon Petroleum flashing multiple major sell signals as it plunged, Roku and Nvidia sold off, undercutting key short-term averages. ASML stock, not ASMR stock, but ASML. Pa, da, pa, pa. Reversed from record highs ahead of earnings this week. Finally, Tesla stock fell back towards long-term support as recovering former leaders continued July retreats. Tesla, Nvidia, and ASML, not ASMR, are on the IBD leaderboard, while Roku stock is on the leaderboard watch list. ASML stock is on the IBD long-term leaders. Nvidia stock and ASML are on the IBD 50. CPE stock was Friday's IBD stock of the day because of its sell signals. A little bit on OPEC+. OPEC and key allies such as Russia agreed on an OPEC Plus production deal to increase output by up to $400,000 not dollars, but 400,000 a month. I'm guessing that's barrels starting in August. The aim is to phase out all pandemic-era production cuts by September of 2022. The UAE will get higher production baselines starting in May, so will Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. Earlier this month, the United Arab Emirates blocked a deal demanding higher output for itself. Last week, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates agreed on a compromise. OPEC ministers from several countries, including Saudi Arabia and the UAE, met online on Saturday. Crude oil futures fell 3% on Monday morning. Oil prices retreated last week. Where? Because everywhere I saw the gas was up week over week. But okay, I'll take your word for it. While meeting energy stocks sold off hard, an OPEC Plus production deal will boost crude oil supply. But an agreement also heads off the risk that the cartel would splinter, with various members ramping up output sharply. Which, I mean, that's the point that we all win. That's the best thing that could happen to Biden right now, because your energy costs would go down. Your gas would go down, because we'll have another situation where everybody's ramping up supply and we'll have major tankers floating around on the ocean with all the gas that they can't give to anybody else because everybody is plumb fucking full. So we'll see what happens with that. Maybe old Joe will get a boon somewhere. Come on, man. I'm just going to continue to get lucky, man. The deep state wants me here. On the futures, Dow futures fell 1.4% versus fair value. That's huge. We haven't seen that kind of a drop in fair value since, I don't know. How long has it been since we've seen a drop like that? It has to have been at least since May on the futures. Now, we've seen an intraday drop that far, but on the futures, that's a big one. S&P 500 futures lost 1.1%, and NASDAQ 100 futures retreated 0.9%. Yeah, usually it's like 0.1%, 0.2% at the most, maybe 0.5%. But 1.5%, just about, wow. Investors fear rising coronavirus cases and related restrictions will take their toll on economic growth. Travel-related stocks under pressure for weeks were losers again early Monday, so were energy and other commodity plays. The 10-year Treasury yield fell 7 basis points to 1.23%, hitting a fresh 5-month low. They're still lying to you about that because they're inflating the shit out of the currency. Treasury yield be damned. And that's why we see another 5.4% inflationary month in June. We're headed the same direction in July. Copper futures declined about 2%. So if you got wire that you want to take over to the recycling center, now is the time to do that because they're continuing to tell us that copper is going down. So your pipes, your wire, anything else you've been saving for the recycling center, get it there now. Otherwise, you're going to lose your ass on it. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So a lot of stuff moving on the coronavirus front, on the oil front, on the travel front. There's a lot of stuff moving here right now, and well, I guess we're going to see what happens and what the Fed does for this, because that's going to affect inflation no matter what. It's going to affect consumer price goods, and it's going to affect how much money the dollar in your pocket is actually worth. So we'll continue to watch this as it goes. Let's grab one from investing.com very quickly. A lot of the same information we just read, but there are a couple key points I want to grab out of this. Dow futures fall 370 points. Rising COVID cases weigh on sentiment. From investing.com, stock markets. There's the author. I was about to say no author given, but they put it under the picture. From Peter Nurse. U.S. stocks are seen opening sharply lower Monday, continuing last week's negative tone amid concerns about rising COVID cases, while the quarterly corporate earnings season continues. At 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 11 GMT, the Dow futures contract was down 370 points, or 1.1%. The S&P 500 futures traded 30 points, or 0.7% lower, and the NASDAQ 100 futures dropped 55 points, or 0.4%. The major indices last week recorded their first negative in 4, with the Dow Jones falling 0.5%, the S&P 500 dropping 1%, and the NASDAQ Composite falling almost 2%, its worst week since May. Rising numbers of U.S. COVID-19 cases are now weighing on sentiment, with the Delta variant now the dominant strain worldwide. U.S. cases were up 70% last week over the previous week, and deaths are up 26%. With outbreaks occurring mainly in parts of the country with low vaccination rates, Rochelle Walensky, director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, said on Friday, and that number is totally not being cooked either. They're not changing the way that they're doing things to try to make this look like those ignorant Trump rednecks are the only ones that are dying here. They're totally not doing that, especially with 5 Democrats jumping on a plane and flying to Washington, D.C., who are all theoretically fully vaccinated, all catching the pinko fucking pox. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. But, yeah, we're going to continue to watch this and see where that goes. But that's also going to weigh down on the markets. So that's why I wanted to touch on this really quick. A lot of Zoom thing is on here. The oil thing is on here. So we've seen all this information before, but they put another big deal into the coronavirus. So that's why I wanted to touch on these guys really quick. Let's get into the big news of the day, and that's going to start by watching 3 videos right in a row. All right, starting with townhall.com. Psaki, if you're banned on one social media platform, you should be banned on the other social media platforms. Let's listen.
Providing for Facebook or other platforms to measure and publicly share the impact of misinformation on their platform and the audience it's reaching. Also with the public, with all of you, to create robust enforcement strategies that bridge their properties and provide transparency about rules. You shouldn't be banned from one platform and not others for providing misinformation out there.
Well, if that's not draconian, I don't know what is. And I noticed a lot of the news outlets that I did see over the weekend were circling the wagons hard to try and get in front of this and say, oh, no, they're not going to try to do this. But yeah, that's the government coming in and telling private industry what they can do or what they should do. Not what they can do yet, but I'm guessing we're going to get there at some point. But what they should do in order to control the narrative. And I've actually got this next video down here in the next tab. Only minutes later, Jen Psaki calls social media sites like Facebook public platforms.
For how long has the administration been spying on people's Facebook profiles looking for vaccine misinformation?
Well, that was quite a loaded and inaccurate question, which I would refute.
How?
Well, Peter, first of all, as you know, we're in a regular touch with a range of media outlets. Let me finish. As we are in regular touch with social media platforms. This is publicly open information, people sharing information online, just as you are all reporting information on your news stations.
Okay, so these 12 people who you have on a list, 12 individuals, do they know that somebody at the Surgeon General's office is going through their profile?
I'm happy to get you the citation of where that comes from. There's no secret list. I will tell you that these are people who are sharing information on public platforms on Facebook, information that is traveling, is inaccurate. Our biggest concern here, and I frankly think it should be your biggest concern, is the number of people who are dying around the country because they're getting misinformation that is leading them to not take a vaccine.
So there it is. If you're telling people not to take the vaccine, which I have never done, by the way, keep in mind, before some of our left-leaning friends come and join us over on Twitter to come out and say, oh, you're an anti-vaxxer. No, I've always said, if you want the vaccine, go and get it. I'm not going to get it, but if you want it, have at it. Absolutely, have at it. I've seen enough side effects that I've made a risk-averse decision about this and said, no, it's not worth it. The risk isn't worth it. For what little bit of protection against something that I'm pretty sure I already had, the risk just isn't there. Or I'm sorry, the value isn't there for me. So, but it is a public platform, and you can shape somebody's opinion based on what you post on Facebook. All right, I got one more here. Where we got a few Twitter videos here, but I got one more here. Robbie Starbuck tweets out, reported the big concern for a lot of people on Facebook is that now this is Big Brother watching you. Biden's press secretary, they're more concerned with that than people dying across the country because of a pandemic where misinformation is traveling on social media. Let's listen.
Speaking of misinformation and the announcement from yesterday, for how long has the administration been spying on people's Facebook profiles looking for vaccine misinformation?
Well, that was quite a loaded and inaccurate question, which I would refute.
How?
Well, Peter, first of all, as you know, we're in a regular touch with a range of media outlets. Let me finish. As we are in regular touch with social media platforms. This is publicly open information, people sharing information online, just as you are all reporting information on your news stations.
But okay, so these 12 people who you have on a list, 12 individuals, do they know that somebody at the Surgeon General's office is going through their profile?
I'm happy to get you the citation of where that comes from. There's no secret list. I will tell you that these are people who are sharing information on public platforms on Facebook, information that is traveling, is inaccurate. Our biggest concern here, and I frankly think it should be your biggest concern, is the number of people who are dying around the country because they're getting misinformation.
So that is an extended version of the video we just watched here, so we're not going to go back through this. But I mean, Starbuck follows it up perfectly. In this response, she admits that the Biden's admin believes that they define the truth, and we must comply with their truth or be silent. She also admits that they'll frame anyone concerned with the loss of their rights as a monstrous person, and she ends it by gaslighting concerned citizens. Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing with the freedom of speech is, freedom of speech doesn't come with freedom of responsibility, but also freedom of speech was there to protect taboo speech or speech that might be somewhat odd or awkward or maybe not the truth. You can still come back out and put it out there. And furthermore, who defines who the truth is, or what the truth is? Who defines what's true and what's not? Whereas you can hear somebody speak something in the public square, your Facebook, your Twitter, whatever the public square is, and it's on you to, as I always say, find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. Never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel, you guys. Take what I say as a jumping off point, where you can come in and say, I wonder if that's true or not. But always go up and look it up yourself. Always go and do that. And that's the same thing with whatever you hear from a homeopathic mom on Facebook or some left-wing Madden nut job over on Twitter or anything else like that. Or the person who thinks that you have to have the vaccine no matter what. Absolutely. Go and double check everything that they say. Come to your own conclusions. That's the most important part of all of this. All right, let's keep going here. Let's read a little bit here today instead of just listening to the redheaded bobblehead talk. Hypocritical Psaki leads chilling effort to flag misinformation. This is an op-ed. So this is from Joe Concha, opinion contributor. The views expressed by contributors are their own and not the view of the Hill. And I'm going to take this farther and say that the views expressed by this contributor, Joe Concha, is also not necessarily the view of Contemporary, Turns of Pages Productions, or myself. Well, let's see what Joe Concha has to say, though. We're flagging problematic posts for Facebook that spread disinformation. We're working with doctors and medical experts who are popular with their audience with accurate information. So we're helping to get trusted content out there. That's what White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki brazenly saying the quiet part out loud regarding the U.S. government colluding with private company in deciding what constitutes misinformation and what doesn't. Talk about a slippery slope. This is akin to luge racing at the Olympics, except this luge has no brakes. That's misspelled, by the way, Mr. Concha. Because if the White House can define what is misinformation and what isn't, and do so with Facebook, which clearly served at the pleasure of the Biden campaign in 2020, what's to stop the White House from recommending censorship of certain stories? To buy Psaki's argument, one also has to believe that Facebook isn't biased. It is. Facebook is acting in good faith. It's not. Facebook's faceless fact-checking unit has an exemplary track record. It does not. Because remember, until about a month ago, Facebook censored posts about the pinko fucking pox, possibly originating in a lab in Wuhan. Many in the media and the Democratic Party called it a reckless conspiracy theory. Now suddenly it's a real possibility, and even some Democrats are conceding. Phil Wegman of Real Clear Politics asked some fair-pointed questions of Psaki in terms of process and procedure around the White House and Facebook working together to battle misinformation. Questions included: how is misinformation being defined and identified? How is the admin flagging misinformation on Facebook? How often have they done it? How long has this been happening? What safeguards are there to protect free speech? In a related story, Facebook also suppressed and censored any posts about the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop shortly before the 2020 election, which appeared to show that he peddled influence by using the family name. Not one person, including anyone in the Biden campaign, has refuted the contents of those emails, while Hunter himself, there are a lot of people that have refuted the contents of those emails, mostly people who haven't read them, but people who have taken the CNN narrative, hook, line, and sinker, right down their fucking throats. While Hunter himself has conceded that there could be a laptop out there that belongs to him, in another related story, the president's son is currently under federal investigation, which was only revealed after the November 2020 election. So, I don't want to go too deep into this, but there's a lot of the things that are that we listened to already. There's another one here. Unreal. Jen Psaki doubles down on the Democrat Biden admin pushing social media companies to ban accounts that promote misinformation. Says that if you get banned from one... Okay, we watched that one already. So, yeah, and that's scary shit right there. The government cannot make a law abridging the freedom of speech in this country, but they can go, sure, and collude, and Concha put the right word out there. They can come back out and collude and tell Facebook, hey, we can't make a law for this. The Constitution will step into place and we'll get sued into oblivion for it, but you can. So, hey, here's this gigantic tax break for you, the wealthy. Why don't you do our bidding for a little while? Otherwise, we might tell people that you're dangerous misinformation, and we've got that video coming up too. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. A lot of stuff. All right, let's grab one from the New York Post. Government dictating what social media bans is tyrannical. This is also an op-ed. The White House press... Oh, I have an author, don't I? This is from Rachel Bovard. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki casually confirmed on Thursday what skeptical conservatives and some civil libertarians have been suspecting for years. That the world's biggest speech platforms take direction from the government in choosing what content to suppress, amplify, or remove. We're in regular touch with social media platforms about the pinko pox related misinformation, including misinformation about the commie fucking coup vaccine, Psaki said, we're flagging problematic posts for Facebook. On Friday, she suggested social media companies should be working together to ban misinformation, super spreaders from multiple platforms. This is a startling admission. It was backed up by a 22-page health misinformation guidance issued by U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, in which he urged social media platforms to impose clear consequences for accounts that repeatedly violate platform policies. This is scary shit. The White House is motivated by a real problem, overtly wrong information about the pinko pox vaccine. Some of the posts are factually inaccurate, and some of it misrepresents the fact that vaccines in general do work. They're killing people, President Biden said flatly yesterday when asked what his message was to platforms like Facebook. Let's listen to that before we keep going.
What's your message to platforms like Facebook?
They're killing people. I mean, it really, look, The only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated, and they're killing people.
Who wants to lay a bet that he didn't know what the question was? And he just started spouting off a scripted line there. Who wants to place a bet for that? Come on, man, they're killing people. But the admin's solution to control what can be said and who can use the world's biggest speech platform is deeply unsettling and frankly undemocratic. That's the union of corporation and state power, wrote reporter Glenn Greenwald on Twitter, one of the classic hallmarks of fascism. There is a dystopian element to telling social media platforms to control misinformation when the very definition that keeps changing. In the early months of the pandemic, Facebook began banning anti-lockdown protest content, not because it violated any laws, but because such gatherings might run afoul to local guidance and public health recommendations. YouTube began censoring any content that disagreed with the error-prone World Health Organization, removing videos from emergency room doctors and podcasts from the Stanford University neuroradiologists alike. But don't worry, because the WHO is completely infallible and we can listen to what they have to say and take everything that they have to say as gospel, honk honk. They never get anything wrong, even when they change their mind, and we have to sit back and listen to them, honk honk. In their haste to bend the controlling narrative, social media platforms have banned accounts for asking questions and discussing errant data points for emerging hypotheses around new treatments. Famously, you weren't allowed to discuss the virus came from the Wuhan lab. In other words, the platforms have banned debate and inquiry itself. The media likes to scold people about what is and isn't covered by the First Amendment. As private companies, social media platforms can decide what appears, they argue. But social media platforms have become the de facto public square through which Americans communicate with one another, petition their government, ask questions, and air dissent. The Biden admin's moves veer close to the government abridging the freedom of speech. Now, I want to go full stop on what was just said in this op-ed and talk about what's going on here. So yes, Facebook is a private company, and they can decide what gets posted, what doesn't get posted. And if you don't like it, you can go and make your own Facebook. The problem with that, it's not the fact that I'm having the government intervene with a private company. Because they're a private company, they can do what they want. But they are platforming government services, which means that falls afoul of equal protection under the law. They're existing a lot on government subsidies right now, and they've got a vertical monopoly, which is not supposed to exist in this country. That is one of the very few legitimate purposes of the government, to keep vertical monopolies or any monopolies from happening. They've got a vertical monopoly that if you do come back to try to make your own Facebook, your own YouTube, your own Twitter, etc., your own internet, your own banks, your own anything, the vertical monopoly comes in and breaks you up. And they use the power of the government to do so, to get you shut down on your web services, on your banking. And they are using government power to do this. That's the problem that I have with this. Not necessarily that they're making an editorial decision on what gets featured on their platform. They're a private company, they can do that. But they are doing it under the direction and under the funding of the government. And that's where I draw a problem. So that's what we see coming back up out of that. We watched this video here. Let's talk a little bit about censorship elsewhere. From the Toronto Sun, Heritage Minister says offensive Twitter posts undermining Canada's democracy. Canada hasn't had democracy for a long time. From Post Media News, Heritage Minister Stephen Guilbeault's department says lawful but offensive Twitter posts are undermining Canada's democracy. This content steals and damages lives, wrote staff in a briefing note, according to Blacklock's reporter. It intimidates and obscures valuable voices, preventing a truly democratic debate, On June 23rd, Cabinet introduced Bill C-36, an act to amend the criminal code that threatens Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube users suspected of posting content that promotes detestation or vilification with house arrest or $70,000 fines. Holy shit, that's dystopian. Our objective is to ensure more accountability and transparency from online platforms while respecting the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. said the June 16th briefing note on regulation of social media platforms. The mandate, of the Department of Canadian Heritage includes the promotion of great understanding of human rights, In 1970, Parliament banned hate speech. Social media platforms such as Facebook or Twitter are increasingly central to participation in democratic, cultural, and public life, said the briefing note. However, social media platforms can be used to threaten, intimidate, bully, and harass people, or used to promote racist, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, misogynistic, or homophobic views that target communities, put people's safety at risk, and undermine Canada's social cohesion or democracy, I mean, we're the nicest people in the world, so we should be stopping anything that threatens anybody, because we don't care what you are or who you are, as long as you're kind to everybody else, or you'll bum somebody a smoke every once in a while. The briefing note provided no examples. On June 23rd, the Department of Justice backgrounder to Bill C-36 said it would apply to public communications by individual users on the internet, including on social media, on personal websites and in mass emails, blog posts, online news sites, operators of website that primarily publish their own content, and user comment sections. Well, we don't like people to man these comment sections here. We prefer peopling the comment sections. With the federal government considering legislation that could have far-reaching impacts on social media, a healthy majority of Canadians agree with the concept of law that would require platforms to remove illegal or harmful content, said the survey report called Canadians Deserve a Better Internet. Well, here's an option for you. If your Canadian people don't like the website that they're going to, then don't fucking go to it. But, I mean, this is something that comes off of a country that doesn't have a First Amendment, and it really doesn't have freedom of speech. The government up there can enact legislation that abridges the freedom of speech, because there is no protection from it. The people of the nation haven't looked back and said, hey, you know what? I think I like to tell people that my bear fat and seal fat salve will cure COVID better than any vaccine. And I want to put that on Facebook, Why can't I do that? So that's what we see coming up out of Canada. I've got one from the Associated Press. DNC anti-misinformation push doesn't involve reading private texts. Sure, Jan. This is from Allie Swenson. This is a fact checker. But, you know, you see what happens when they have a fact checker. Snopes, I'm looking at you. Claimed the Democratic National Committee is working with the Biden admin to monitor private citizens' SMS communications in a move to crack down on anti-vaccine text messages. The Associated Press's assessment, false. The DNC has no ability to access or read people's private text messages and is not working with any government agency, including the White House, to try to see personal text messages. No, of course, we just had bulk data collection for years from the Patriot Act, and now that's been offloaded to private companies. No, they're absolutely not seeing them, but, I mean, of course, we renewed the Patriot Act again. According to Lucas Acosta, a senior spokesperson for the committee, the DNC does report fraudulent mass text to SMS aggregator companies when it hears about them, Acosta said. The fact, conservative lawmakers and social media users this week advanced the false claim that the DNC and other Biden allies were planning to spy on personal text messages in order to identify and dispel vaccine misinformation. So now the Biden admin wants to get into people's text messages to force vaccine compliance and who knows what else, Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley tweeted on Monday. The Biden admin, in partnership with the DNC, plans to monitor the private text messages of American citizens who question experimental mRNA emergency authorized non-FDA-approved vaccines. Arizona Republican Representative Paul Gosar tweeted on Tuesday, "I can't believe I'm writing this." Meanwhile, on Facebook, users liken the DNC to Big Brother and warn that the Democrats will be reading our text messages. Dude, they already can. I don't know why this is news. I don't know why we're coming here to try to dispel what we've known has been going on since a month after 9/11. We know this. They've admitted to it. The false claim evolved online after Politico reported on Monday that the DNC and other Biden allies were planning to engage fact-checkers more aggressively and work with SMS carriers to dispel misinformation about vaccines. Social media users and conservative websites interpreted Politico's report to mean that the DNC would monitor private text messages in order to crack down on misinformation, but one of the reporters of the piece, Politico White House correspondent Natasha Korecki, clarified on Twitter that this wasn't true. No, Korecki tweeted Monday in response to a question about whether the government would be reading personal texts. Outside groups are attempting to flag the SMS carriers, false information on campaigns that are driving misinformation on vaccines. Yeah, this has nothing to do with the government either. So, that's what the Associated Press wants you to believe. Let's grab some more good news here. From TechCrunch. Discord buys Sentropy, which makes AI software that fights online harassment. From Taylor Hatmaker. I want everybody who's in the Discord server to remember, and I mean, it's not active right now, but it's still up, and you guys can all join it. Just in case something does happen, you'll be the first ones there to build a new community. That we do have the Gilded community, and we have one for the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the Already Conservative, the Freckles and Brit Show, the Generational Gap, and Elaine and myself. All put up into one tidy package that you guys can come back and join at a moment's notice. In case something does happen on our Discord, because, yeah. One of the Discord gods is going to find the Midget B and S8 meme competition at some point, and we're not going to have a Discord anymore. So you guys can always go and join the alternative, and, you know, if you guys want to make it more active, you can make it more active. It's always welcome for you guys. Pop in there. Or at least get your username and account set up, so if the worst does happen, you can come in and hang out with us, and it will be seamless. The online chat platform Discord is buying Sentropy, a company that makes AI-powered software to detect and remove online harassment and hate. Discord currently uses a multi-level approach to moderation, relying on an in-house human moderation team, as well as volunteer mods and admins to create ground rules for individual servers. A trust and safety team is dedicated to protecting users and shaping content moderation policies, comprise 15% of Discord's workforce as of May of 2020. Wasn't Discord started by like 6 people or something ridiculous like that? Discord plans to integrate Sentropy's own products into its existing toolkit, and the company will also bring the smaller company's leadership ground aboard. The terms of the deal were not disclosed, but the acquisition is a sign that taking toxic content and harassment seriously isn't just the right thing to do, it's good business too. Yeah, everything that is fun or was fun has to go away. TS and tech processes should not be used as competitive advantage, Sentropy CEO John Redgrave said in the blog post on the announcement. We all deserve digital and physical safety, and moderators deserve better tooling to help them do one of the hardest jobs online more effectively and with fewer harmful impacts. Okay, those of you who are mods on my Discord server, is it a hard job? You've got the ground rules. It's basically don't dox anybody. It's the ground rule. Don't take screenshots and don't dox anybody. Do you have any problem complying with that? Or keeping somebody else to comply with that? And don't ban people. You're only allowed to mute people. Unless I am not here for whatever reason. Do not ban people. Unless they dox. And then they're gone. Gone. Done. Discord hasn't always had a reputation for taking dangerous content seriously. Far-right groups with ties to real-world violence previously thrived on the platform. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Discord cracked down on hate and extremism following the Unite the Right rally at Charlottesville, which left anti-racist protester Heather Heyer dead, as her killer was running away from a college professor who was swinging a fucking bike lock at him. But you never hear about that second part. You only hear about, oh, he hit Heather Heyer. He must have done it with malice. By February of 2018, the company was purging white supremacist and neo-Nazi groups, cleaning up the platform on its journey to transcend its gaming roots and grow into a mainstream social network. Now Discord boasts 150 million active monthly users and is positioning itself as a comfy home for all kinds of communities while holding on to its core user base of gamers. In a blog post, Redgrave elaborated on the company's natural connection with Discord. Discord represents the next generation of social companies, a generation where users are not the product to be sold, but the engine of connectivity, creativity, and growth. In this model, user privacy and user safety are essential product features, not an afterthought. The success of this model depends on building the next generation, trusted safety into every product. We don't take this responsibility lightly and are humbled to work on the scale of Discord and with Discord's resources to increase the depth of our impact. Translation: Discord got big, so now they're going to crack down on people that they don't like. So there you go. Now they've got an AI to make sure that you're not doing hate speech in your Discord. By the way, the Discord link is in the description. If you guys do want to come hang out there before it's gone. From the Blaze. Judge orders woman to remove fuck Biden flags or face daily $250 fines. We're going into censorship. From Chris Enlow. A New Jersey woman who opposes President Biden is facing what appears to be legal censorship after a judge ruled she must remove anti-Biden flags from outside her home or face a daily monetary fine. The Roselle Park woman became the ire of her neighbors and caught the attention of local code enforcement, according to NewJersey.com, after she began displaying anti-Biden, pro-Trump flags. The display includes 6 flags which say, "Don't blame me, I voted for Trump," "Joe Biden sucks," I mean, where's the lie?" "Fuck Biden," "Fuck Biden, not my president," "Socialism sucks, Biden blows." The 6th flag shows Trump holding up 2 middle fingers and includes the caption, "Fuck Biden." Mayor Signorello claimed the display violated town ordinances prohibiting obscene materials, but claimed the political nature of the display was not problematic. It's been brought to our attention, less because of the political aspect of it, but the vulgarity of it, Signorello told NewJersey.com. The real problem is from a neighbor's perspective. It's a block away from an elementary school. It's in a high visibility area for children. Most of the ire was drawn from a lot of local parents. The owner of the display, Andrea Dick, was defiant when told by the city officials to remove the display. "I'm not taking them down," Dick said. "I refuse to take them down. Today I got a phone call from code enforcement. I said nothing against you, but I'm not taking them down. I said I have the right, freedom of speech, and I'm leaving them up there." Well, see, there's a difference in the government abridging your speech, which technically that is, and being a somewhat decent neighbor, especially if you live a block away from an elementary school. Now, I understand the sentiment, and don't blame me, I voted for the orange fucking idiot too. Because I felt at the position that it was the best choice out of a bunch of crappy choices. I voted for the orange idiot. But I know that there were kids that lived in the apartment next to me forever. They don't live there anymore. They just moved because I think their mom is getting married to the guy that they moved in with. But they don't live over there anymore. But even still, I mean, there's a church right over there. So I wouldn't feel the need to have a fuck Biden sign at that point. And I see a lot of those running around Janesville too. Janesville is pretty based from what I can see, from what I can tell. I see a lot of them running around over there, but I mean, yeah, no, I wouldn't have this as a permanent display in front of an elementary school. There's political speech, and then there's being a good neighbor. There's being a decent person. And we do need to bring back some of that shame because, and I tweeted this out, I think Saturday I tweeted out, ask not what you can do for your country, and also ask not what your country can do for you, and also ask not what you can do for your country. Ask what you can do for your neighbors, and this is one of those things that this woman can do for her neighbors. Now, if she made cleaner signs or got cleaner flags, like if she just had Trump 2020 hanging up there, I don't think her neighbors would have a problem with it. It's the fact that she's got the vulgarity out there. So she needs to sit down and have a discussion with her neighbors, a discussion on what the city code is, and figure out where to go from there. I support her idea, but it's still executed in kind of a shitty way, I'm not going to lie. All right. From Fox News, Wikipedia co-founder Larry Sanger blasts site for left-wing bias. The word for it is propaganda. From Brian Flood. Wikipedia co-founder Larry Sanger continued his criticism this week of the online encyclopedia that he helped create, citing the page on President Biden as an example of leftist bias. You can trust it to give reliably establishment point of view on pretty much everything. Can you trust it always to give you the truth? Well, it depends on what you think the truth is, Sanger said Wednesday on Lockdown TV with Freddie Sayers. Sanger feels Wikipedia has changed considerably since he founded it alongside Jimmy Wales in 2001 and has been a critic of for more than a decade. He said the site is no longer committed to neutrality and doesn't feature different points of view. Wikipedia is known now by everyone to have a lot of influence in the world, so there is a very big, nasty, complex game being played behind the scenes to make the article say what somebody wants them to say, Sanger said, adding the site has a liberal bias. The Biden article, if you look at it, has very little, by the way, of the concerns that Republicans have had about him, Sanger said. So if you want to have anything remotely resembling the Republican point of view about Biden, you're going to have to get it from the article. Sanger, who left the site in 2002, pointed to a short paragraph about concerns related to Biden and Ukraine on his lengthy Wikipedia entry. What little can be found is extremely biased and reads like a defense counsel's brief, really, Sanger said. Wikipedia did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going on with this. Now, I mean, you should never take Wikipedia as gospel either, because that is something that can be edited by everybody, or at least it could be until they started locking articles down on controversial figures, because there were people who were literally having editing wars over and over again, re-editing something to make the article seem better or worse for the person depending on who he was in public life. But you always should do that. The best ideas should rise to the top. They shouldn't lock this down. This is what I know is Wiki, W-I-K-I. So we should be putting out there what the people know and letting other people decide. And the citations are on the bottom. You can go back and read the articles for yourself. If it is something that you don't think is actually factual, you can go back and read the article, make the assessment for yourself as to, okay, this is true, or okay, this is bullshit from a right-wing conspiracy theory website. But no, this has become propaganda at this point, and they want certain things to come out there and be what they want them to be, and that's it. All right. Here's a fun one from the weekend. From Newsweek, conservative porn star Brandy Love banned from Turning Point USA event after backlash. From Jason Lemon. Brandy Love, a porn star who identifies as a conservative, was initially welcomed as a VIP at a Florida event by right-wing group Turning Point USA. They're not really right-wing, they're more of a conservative Inc. group this weekend, but then was abruptly kicked out after backlash from Christian conservatives. The Tampa event by Turning Point USA, an organization that advocates for conservative values on high school and college campuses, started on Saturday and is slated to run until Tuesday. Love initially showed up at the Tampa Convention Center this weekend, posting an enthusiastic photo of herself to Twitter with the caption, "It's good to be around so many young conservatives, gives me hope." But Christian conservatives and others who appeared to be white nationalists on social media, oh Jesus fucking Christ. Of course they're white nationalists! Began slamming the organization's decision to welcome an adult film star to the Student Action Summit. Some complained that her presence clashed with conservative values, while others pointed out that minors were in attendance. So? I mean, it's not like she was fucking Charlie Kirk on the stage. What does it matter? Mommy, who's that lady over there? Imagine sending your kids to this conference thinking they're going to learn about Christian conservative values, or conservative Inc. values, and they come home with photos with porn stars, former Kansas State student Jaden McNeil wrote on Telegram, Salon reported. On top of online harassment, some attendees began to approach Love and criticize her for being part of the summit. All checked in. Stats so far. Anti-adult haters 1. Kid Rock conservatives 12. It's good to be around so many young conservatives. Gives me hope. Several hours later, Love received a notification she was no longer invited to be a part of the conservative event. We regret to inform you that your SAS 2021 invitation has been revoked, the email from the right-wing organization said. According to an image posted to Twitter by the adult entertainer, this decision is final. The revocation does not impact application to future events, and we hope that you will consider applying again in the future, at which point she will be denied once again. So, and this is a part of the problem with all of this. It's that, yes, there's been a liberty-minded aspect to going into the Conservative Party. Small government, getting government out of the way. I mean, even TPUSA walks around and their big contribution to conservatism is holding signs that say, "Big government sucks!" That's their big contribution to the conservative movement right there. But, now they're coming out and using their big government to say, well, we only want to have Christian conservatives. We don't want any other kind of conservatives. Well, good. Turn another voter away, and fans of another voter away. Now, I don't particularly care for the fact that Brandy Love is out there, because I've been having a very, very mixed idea on what pornography is and what it's doing to society. I don't care for it. But she has a right to be there. She was invited. She applied. They said yes because there was a good idea to come out and talk about the fact that big government doesn't have the ability to control any aspect of your life as much any more than they've got the right to tell you, what you can do to make a living for yourself. Your body, your choice. I know that Christian conservatives hate that idea, but it is her body. If she wants to do that, get the government out of the way, then do it. So this was the bad take. But coming from fucking Kirk's organization, I'm not surprised at all. All right, from News 19, Lindsey Graham says he'll go to war for Chick-fil-A values. I could almost have skipped this one because by this point this is old news and they're all done with this, but I did want to talk about this. Plus grab another article here that I wanted to talk about a little bit later on here, my decision not to eat at Burger King again. But News 19 CBS out of South Carolina says, from WLTX, there's no author given, South Carolina, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham is outraged by a call for University of Notre Dame to keep Chick-fil-A restaurants off its campus, going so far as to say he'd go to war for the company's principles. Isn't Notre Dame in Indiana? Graham, you make really good fodder for this program, but stay in your fucking lane. You need to concern yourself with the people of South Carolina, not the people of Indiana. Recently, some students at the iconic school in Indiana started a petition to get the university's campus to dining to stop their consideration of putting a campus Chick-fil-A at the school as part of a retail dining master plan. In a letter to the editor of the campus newspaper, the group said the chain has a long history of antagonism to LGBTQ plus groups. Isn't Notre Dame a Catholic university? You know who else has a problem with LGBTQIA plus RR GPPM GL F6 Alphabet Mafia groups? The Catholic Church and Notre Dame. So if you've really got a problem, you shouldn't be giving Notre Dame your money. Period. You should boycott them. Say, hey, you know what? This is a religious institution, and I don't think they need my money. Instead, you're going to go and give them $100,000 a fucking year. Probably more at this point. What's Notre Dame tuition? Actually, I was way over. $55,553 US per year as of 2019 and 2020 for Notre Dame. So $200,000 to give your money to Notre Dame, who also hates what your alphabet mafia stands for. And you're going to give them your money. And you're going to tell us that you're the smart ones. All right. So, yeah, that's something that happened. As far as the Chick-fil-A thing goes, I mean, it's the Lord's chicken. So a religious university, I would think, would be the decision to go. I think they would benefit from the partnership. But furthermore, and this is something that I always tell you, you don't have to shut down the Chick-fil-A. You can just choose not to go there. If they're not making jack shit for money, they're going to pull back out. Vote with your dollar. If you don't want Chick-fil-A there, don't go there. But it's not that you want to deny yourself the Chick-fil-A to deny them your dollar. You want to deny it for everybody else. Because a lot of people like the Lord's chicken. I like the Lord's chicken. I'm very excited that they're putting one in Janesville because I've sworn off spending money in in Madison. And that was the closest one, was the one in Madison. I haven't had Chick-fil-A since they started the mask mandate. Because that was the day I decided I was never going to spend money in Madison, Wisconsin, or Dane County again. But now they're putting one in the next town over. And huzzahs were in order. But yeah, Lindsey Graham decided he wanted to come in and get on this too, so. Alright, what's playing? What's auto-playing here? I'll shut this up for you until I figure out what's going on. Shut up, you. Alright. Let's keep going here. Speaking of Chick-fil-A, let's grab this one here from Changing America! Otherwise known as The Hill. Burger King declares war on Chick-fil-A over LGBTQ plus IIRAGMTL, another P, G, I don't know what the letters are anymore, rights and chicken sandwiches. From Christian Spencer. It's summertime and there's a new chicken sandwich war between Burger King and Chick-fil-A. However, unlike previous capitalistic fanfare wars, this war is not just a measurement on which establishment has the better sandwich. This is for LGBTQ plus pride, USA Today reported. On June 3rd, Burger King made a cheeky tweet saying it will donate up to $250,000 of the proceeds from its new premium chicken sandwich, Chick-king, to the Human Rights Campaign. For every hand-breaded chicken sold, 40 cents will go to the cause. Now, are they actually going to the Human Rights Campaign? Because the initials there are HRC, and I know if people don't give their tribute to the Clintons, Hillary Rodham gives them the Clinton side. The company emphasized that Chick-king is available on Sunday, taking a jab at Chick-fil-A, who observes the Sabbath on Sunday. Chick-fil-A is a fast food eatery known for its chicken-based meals. Before 2012, the restaurant regularly donated to anti-LGBTQ plus IIRGMATLF groups, and its CEO Dan Cathy said supporting same-sex marriage would invite God's judgment on the country. With its Chick-king receiving positive feedback, Burger King is confident it could send a message that love is love. You know what I'm going to do? Because they have showed me, once again, they've showed me their politics. I was actually getting ready to go out and say, you know what, the grass commercial, the lemongrass commercial, that was a long time ago. That was way back that was actually the first surprise stupidity I made Elaine sit through on the Red Net show. That stupid thing was the first surprise stupidity that we did. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to eat at Burger King anymore. I was getting ready to go up and say, you know what? I like the burger. I like their little bacon cheeseburgers. They fill you up. They hit the spot. The beef, I do like the beef on the burgers. But they've showed me their politics once again. And that means they don't get my fucking money. So, there you go. I am denied Burger King once again because they have to be woke upon woke. And I don't care who's got the best chicken sandwich. I really don't. I don't eat chicken sandwiches anyway. Well, I get the nuggets at Chick-fil-A, but yeah, I don't really do chicken sandwiches. And you can get our chicken sandwich on Sunday. Okay, if I want a chicken sandwich on Sunday, I'll go to McDonald's or a local eatery or Wendy's. Companies that haven't showed me their politics. And hell, Chick-fil-A only showed me their politics because somebody went digging. They didn't come out on the soapbox and say, we are a Christian organization. There can be the argument made that because they closed on Sunday, that you were to assume that, but they've never come out and officially said, we are Christian and we will be Christian. Somebody went digging for that. So I still feel somewhat able to go to Chick-fil-A for their chicken sandwich, but you know, that does draw right on the line for me too, but I will not go to Burger King anymore. Again, I almost did. I almost said, it's been a long time. It's been a year. I'll give them a shot again, see if they can be good and keep their politics out of my fucking dinner. And then they couldn't. And now I'm still going to be denied their bacon cheeseburger goodness. Because I don't want them to have my money. Just like the students at Notre Dame should be doing to Chick-fil-A. All right, let's grab one from NBC. The funny stuff. From NBC News, 2 more Texas Democrats test positive for the pinko fucking pox. So we didn't get the initial story out of this already because that happened on Friday after Contemporary. But over the weekend, we had an update here. This is from Priscilla Thompson and Dennis Romero. 2 more Texas Democrats who fled to Washington in an attempt to block passage of the Republican-sponsored voter restrictions. They're not voter restrictions, you dumb fuck. Have tested positive for the pinko pox, the State House Democratic Caucus said on Sunday. The number of positive cases in the State House delegation is now 5. 3 were reported on Saturday. Oh, I thought it was Friday. Okay, retraction. They were reported on Saturday. State Rep Trey Martinez-Fisher, and in a statement Sunday, he tested positive through rapid antigen test. He said he tested negative on Friday and Saturday, and that he was experiencing extremely mild symptoms. That sentence was so grammatically incorrect, I can't even begin to tell you. Fisher is one of the only 2 of cases to come forward Sunday. Both have been fully vaccinated, the caucus said in a statement. Of the other positive cases in the delegation, only Rep. Celia Israel came forward to identify herself. All 3 were also said to be fully vaccinated. The caucus said it will now provide daily rapid tests for members and their staffers who are in the nation's capital. All of the HDC members who tested positive are feeling good with no symptoms or only mild symptoms, the caucus said. The delegation fled en masse to Washington on July 12th in a move that will at least temporarily stop Texas legislation until the lawmakers return or the special session called by Governor Greg Abbott ends. When my Texas House Democratic colleagues and I broke quorum to stop the anti-voter legislation, we knew that tactic would come with real personal sacrifice, Fisher said in Sunday's statement. Yeah, you were all going to get the pinko fucking pox, which is hilarious, by the way. Because I know at least the first 3 were fully vaccinated. I don't know if the other 2 were, but the first 3 were. But they were all maskless, on a charter bus, and then on a plane. With a case of Bud Light sitting next to them. I don't know why they even tested. They're fully vaccinated. They just come out and say, see my little gold star card? Hey, I was a good little boy and I got vaccinated. So why are they even testing at this point? That's supposed to be the be-all, end-all. But yes, that is so poetic. They all get on maskless on a bus and on a charter plane. Smiling and happy. And now at least 5 of them, have the coof. From the Texas Tribune, Senator Joe Manchin, key Democrat holdout for federal voting protections, coming to Texas for fundraiser hosted by several GOP donors. From Abby Livingston and Carla Astudillo. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, a key Democratic holdout over efforts to pass federal voting rights legislation, is expected to head to Texas on Friday for a fundraiser with a host committee that includes several wealthy Republican donors. The fundraiser comes just a day after Manchin met with Texas House Democrats on Capitol Hill, who are desperate for his support of the congressional effort, which could preempt the statewide GOP's push to pass bills that would restrict voting access for Texans. Manchin is also one of the 2 Democrat senators, along with Sinema of Arizona, who have proven to be obstacles to moving voting rights legislation through the U.S. Senate. At the center of the impasse is their opposition to eliminating or changing the filibuster, which requires 60 senators to put a bill on the floor. We invite you to join us for a special evening supporting our friend, U.S. Senator Joe Manchin, according to the invitation cover letter, which went on to call Manchin a longtime friend since his days as governor of West Virginia. The host committee includes titans of the Texas oil and gas industry, many of whom donate almost exclusively to Republicans, but there is a prominent Democrat included among the hosts, former Houston Mayor Bill White. White is the 2010 Democratic nominee for governor, and declined to comment on this story. All of the other hosts could not be immediately reached for comments. Yeah, all the grandstanding is done. I mean, as far as Texas goes, they're going to call the special session again. The commie coup might change things, but because it might give them enough. I mean, if the people are incapacitated, their votes should be considered as good as null. I think if we get 5 people out of the vote, that brings quorum back and they can actually have a vote on this thing, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think everybody should be there to debate. But if they're not going to debate, if they're just going to run away, then, I mean, they forfeited their right to sit and have a discussion about this. If you don't want to air your grievances and instead run away to Washington to air your grievances to people who can't even make this decision because Article 2, Section 1 exists, then you don't get a say in this. That's it. You're done. But that's what's happening down in Texas. From CNN, Austria probes reports of Havana syndrome among U.S. diplomats in Vienna. From Denise Ruby and Jennifer Hansler. Austrian authorities said they are investigating reports that the U.S. diplomats in Vienna have experienced symptoms of a mystery illness known as Havana syndrome. We take these reports very seriously, and according to our role as the host state, we are working with the U.S. authorities on joint solution, the Federal Ministry of European and International Affairs said on Sunday. The security of the diplomats dispatched to Austria and their families is of utmost priority to us, the ministry added. The U.S. State Department spokesperson said on Saturday, in coordination with our partners across the U.S. government, we are vigorously investigating reports of possible unexplained health incidents among U.S. Embassy Vienna community or wherever they are reported. Victims of Havana syndrome have reported a varying set of symptoms and physical sensations, including sudden vertigo, nausea, headaches, and head pressure. Sometimes accompanied by piercing directional noise, some reported being able to step in and step out of these sensations by physically moving their bodies elsewhere. Some have been diagnosed with traumatic brain injuries and continue to suffer from debilitating headaches and other health issues years later. Since the incident began in late 2016 in Cuba, U.S. federal investigators have struggled to determine what or who is causing the mysterious symptoms. There have been cases reported in Russia, China, and elsewhere across the globe, and a Senate committee said in April that the number of suspected cases appears to be on the rise. In April, CNN reported on 2 separate incidences that occurred near the White House late last year affecting National Security Council staffers. Somebody came out to try to say that this was a specific attack by the Biden admin, which I'm a little bit curious about as to how they could go that direction. I do have to wonder if there's a bioweapon somewhere in this, because, I mean, we didn't hear about this before 2014. It hides enough well enough that people can't find anything that's going on with it. I think my cousin had this when I was helping him work at the campground at the time. I think he had this because the symptoms sound about the same. But yes, at this point, our U.S. diplomats in Vienna are having vertigo, among other things. All right, let's keep going here. From Fox 4 KDFW, and by the way, yes, everybody is welcome here. Unless you dox somebody, then you're gone. But otherwise, everyone's welcome here. Even if you don't agree with us, you're welcome here. And if you cause a problem, then we'll mute you, but we won't kick you out. We promise. From Fox 4, KDFW, man arrested for shooting at police, code compliance crew over unkempt lawn. From Macy Jenkins. I think that's Fort Worth it's supposed to be, not Fort Forth. Fort Worth SWAT members arrested a man who allegedly fired at police, code enforcement, and professional lawnmowers after an hours-long standoff. Police say they were there because of repeated code violations and were met with violence. After 4 hours, a standoff between a Fort Worth man and Fort Worth police finally came to an end just before 1 p.m. on Friday afternoon. It all started on Cedar Springs Drive around 8:30 a.m. when police say code enforcement officers showed up to mow his front lawn. The grass under Fort Worth City Code has to be under 12 inches. Fort Worth police say they accompanied code compliance to serve the homeowner with a violation for high grass. It was his 7th citation within 2 years. Dude, just cut the grass. That's like one of the most fun parts of living in town and owning your own property. You get to spend an hour, a half an hour, sitting on the mower, drinking beer, in the sun, cutting the grass. But really, honestly, you should all be tearing out your suburban lawns anyway and putting in a garden and growing food. That should be what you're focused on, not necessarily having crabgrass or Kentucky bluegrass or anything like that. Police say after several knocks on the door, no one answered, so the mowing company hired by the city started mowing. That's when Fort Worth officer Jimmy Polizzani said the homeowner opened fire and started shooting towards the mowers, code compliance, and police. Melissa Sandoval lives a few houses away. We heard like around 5 to 6 shots, she said, and that's whenever I actually screamed because I never heard that before. Additional officers soon arrived along with the SWAT team. During the standoff, the man fired towards the officers again 2 more times. Nobody was struck by gunfire, but it appears that some of the code compliance of vehicles were struck by bullets, Polizzani said. Finally, officers deployed tear gas, forcing the homeowner to exit the home. Sky 4 captured him walking out of the front yard, surrendering while wearing a hazmat suit that police say they did not provide for him. Well, that's interesting. That's a fun twist to this. According to the city, the man's history with code compliance dates back to 2010 when he was cited for improper water runoff. Then in 2012, he was cited again for storing fencing materials in his front yard. This is the first I've ever heard of it in my 15-year career, Polizzani said. Being shot at, trying to make the community look better, that just proves the dangers of this job. Well, yeah, and I mean the government coming in and mowing another man's lawn. Now, the dude should have just mowed his lawn. Honestly. He agreed to live there. He agreed to live by the rules of the homeowners association in the area. He voluntarily moved into that neighborhood, knowing full well that they wanted to have his grass below 12 inches. And if he doesn't like it, get on the homeowners association and change the board. All right, let's keep going here. From 6 ABC Action News out of Philly. 3 wounded in shooting outside Nationals Park. Fans scramble from CNN Wire by Gregory Clary over at CNN. 3 people were injured in a shooting Saturday night outside Nationals Park in Washington, D.C., sending baseball fans and players scrambling during a game, police said. A fan outside the stadium was one of 3 people wounded, according to Ashen Benedict, Executive Assistant Chief of Police for D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department. Let's have a look. Yeah, they're running, and I would be too, because you're in a big enclosed area, and somebody's shooting.
There's no announcement?
Of course there's not. Everybody ducked and fucking covered. CNN journalist inside the stadium reported hearing multiple loud bangs during the bottom of the 6th inning in a game between the Nationals and the Padres. Fans fled their seats and sought shelter after hearing the gunfire. Benedict said there ultimately was no threat to people inside the stadium. No, but they heard gunshots, so... I just want to assure the public that at no time during this incident were individuals inside the stadium attending the game in any kind of danger. This was not an active shooter incident and is not being investigated as such. Everything took place outside the stadium, he said. This story actually went almost completely uncovered. A few people talked about it here and there, but this one just kind of fell by the wayside because it doesn't fit a lot of the narrative. Now, number one, there's a Democrat in the White House, and this happened in Washington, D.C., which is a very, very left-wing area where guns are almost impossible to get your hands on legally. But we all know that criminals follow all the laws. And people who would do bodily harm to other people, of course, have their great safety in mind. So, of course, they would never come back and fire at these people because guns are bad and they're illegal. And they would never break the law. They're criminals. But also, I've also seen reports of this, and I haven't independently verified this, but this appears to be a drive-by, which means, once again, completely as far away from the narrative as you could possibly get. So, yeah, this is completely gone. And, of course, if this was Trump's America still, then we'd be hearing headlines left and right of, "There's a shooting, this is Trump's America." All right, from the New York Post. After all this, the red-haired bobblehead got in on this. Jen Psaki hurls the first pitch at Nationals Park one day after the shooting. From Jorge Fitzgibbon. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki threw out the first pitch at the Nationals Park on Sunday, one day after a shooting inside the stadium halted the game in the 6th inning. Video of the moment posted on Twitter by Deputy Press Secretary Chris Meeker reveals a large number of empty seats at the park. Psaki, who was scheduled for the honors before the Saturday shooting cleared out of the park, stood in front of the pitcher's mound but managed to make it to home plate, a vast improvement over Dr. Fauci's disastrous performance last year. I've always dreamed about throwing out the first pitch at the Nationals game, okay? But nobody can be in here to watch me do it because I can't throw very far because I'm not an athletic person, and also because I told them that they couldn't be in stadiums. Fauci's offering flopped to the ground well wide of home plate in June of last year. On Friday, the Nationals announced that Psaki would be throwing out the first pitch prior to the game between the Nats and the Padres. The announcement came in advance of the team's William and Mary Day, which honors the press secretary's alma mater in Virginia. On Saturday, a shooting outside the stadium left 3 wounded, including a fan, abruptly cut that game short in the 6th inning, with play resuming on Sunday. Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I guess apparently she wanted to go. She probably requested to, but I mean, usually you have people with a little bit more standing in the world go and do something like that, but I'm sure that Sarah Sanders would never be invited to go throw out a first pitch somewhere. McEnany? No, definitely not. Spicer? If he requested it, they'd probably drag him out in fucking chains. All right, we have got one here from NPR for you guys. A jury finds Capitol Gazette gunman responsible and rejects his mental illness plea. This is from Shannon Pruitt-Young and Vanessa Romo. And remember, National Progressive Radio needs your dollars. That's why they have donate buttons all over their website. Because they need help, more than their taxpayer funding, to spread communist ideals throughout the country. So remember, open up your wallets and give all of your money, I mean our money, comrade, to National Progressive Radio. Let's see what they have to say. The gunman who admitted to a shooting attack on the newsroom of Maryland's Capitol Gazette 3 years ago has been found criminally responsible for the massacre of 5 people. Good. Jared Ramos had maintained that he was not responsible because of mental illness. Yeah, okay. But on Thursday, the jury rejected that defense, saying the 41-year-old did understand the criminality of his actions when he attacked the newsroom on June of 2018. The verdict means that Ramos, who has already pleaded guilty to 23 counts against him, will be sentenced to prison, not maximum security health facility. The jury of 8 men and 4 women heard that on June 28th, 2018, Ramos traveled to the Capital Gazette newsroom in Annapolis with a shotgun, smoke grenades, and several rounds of ammunition, then barricaded the exit doors before opening fire on those working inside. Yeah, see, you barricaded the doors, you knew what you were doing was wrong, and you knew that you wanted to have the most life loss possible. And really, honestly, I would say you should get the chair for that. But it's Maryland, so they don't give the chair. But yeah, that's premeditated. That's planned. Give them the fucking chair. The shooting, the deadliest attack of its kind, left 5 employees dead. John McNamara, Rebecca Smith, Rob Hiason, Gerald Fishman, and Wendy Winters. So, yeah, that happened. Good. Good. If you break the law and you hurt people or take their stuff, you don't get to hide behind an insanity defense, especially if you're barricading the doors and going in there. No. Go ahead and face down what it is that you done. All right. Let's grab another one here. Let's talk about the mustache. The walrus man, John Bolton himself. New Day tweets out Trump's response to reports that top U.S. General Milley feared the former president would attempt a coup is juvenile. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton says, I shouldn't laugh because it's more serious than that, but it's so typical that I can't stop myself. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
You were chuckling as you saw Trump's response. Tell me why.
Well, it's juvenile. And it's unbecoming of a former president of the United States to refer to people who served the country well and served in his administration as if they're in a kindergarten class. And it's a sad commentary on Trump himself, but I think also reflective of much of his behavior during 4 years in office. And I'm laughing, and I shouldn't laugh because it's more serious than that, but it's so typical that I can't stop myself.
And I want to ask you, because as we see these revelations about Milley in a slew of books about the Trump years, I do want to note for our viewers, you were kind of long gone from the White House by the time some of these periods had happened, right? Leading up the summer into the election and so on. But Milley thought that it was feasible that Trump would attempt a violent coup if he had thought it realistically possible. Do you agree with him?
Well, I think Trump was capable of doing almost anything. And I would just say, although I was gone from the White House, I was still under attack by Trump, who had a civil lawsuit against me and tried to launch a grand jury as well. I think I have the highest respect for Mark Milley. I think he's the right person for the job as chairman of the Joint Chiefs. I thought that when I was still in the government. And I think he was doing his best, number one, to uphold the Constitution. And this is where his loyalty, and I think the loyalty of all the chiefs, was something Trump fundamentally didn't understand. He had one concept of loyalty, which is loyalty to Donald Trump. And there is an element of...
Okay, that's enough of listen to that fucking moron here. He does have some points, and, that's one of the concerns. I did not vote for Trump this last time willingly. I did it kicking and screaming. That was the title of the video that I put out when I made the endorsement. I've endorsed Trump, kicking and screaming. Not because I really wanted him to be the president anymore, because I knew that the media was going to do whatever they could, including pitting us against each other, to try to make sure that everybody hated Donald Trump for the fact that, he won against the establishment. But furthermore, I knew that there was, bullshit like this. And, Bolton? Fuck Bolton. Bolton is responsible for Afghanistan, Iraq. He's a legitimate fucking war hawk, and he should be brought up on charges for war crimes in and of himself. Will he ever? No, of course not. Because he's one of the big players, he's one of the establishment people, and he has no loyalty to anybody. He has loyalty to John fucking Bolton. And of course, it's more serious than just a coup, so... a coup of, hey, we might pull out of Afghanistan. Oh my God, no, we might not do this anymore. Cuckoo kajoo, by the way. From Insider, John Bolton says Trump isn't capable of staging a coup because that requires advanced thinking, planning, and strategizing. From Jake LaHoot. Okay, whose good graces is he trying to get back into? Whose good graces is this guy trying to get himself to, and which brown kids does he want to fucking bomb? I'm not a fan of John Bolton. I don't know if anybody figured that out or not. John Bolton, the former national security advisor for the Trump admin and champion of the Iraq War. Bull fucking shit. Champion? That's what you're calling it? A person won because a bunch of brown kids and civilians died from bombing. That champion? No, fuck you. Told CNN on Friday that his old boss is incapable of staging a real coup. The idea of Trump staging a coup does give him too much credit, Bolton said on CNN's New Day. That requires advanced thinking, planning, strategizing, building up support, he continued. I just don't think he's capable of that. Bolton was responding to former President Trump's recent statement in a series of new books coming out, several of which include scathing details on the January 6th selfie fest. I never threatened or spoke to anyone about a coup of our government, the former president said in an emailed statement on Thursday. So ridiculous. Sorry to inform you, but the election is my form of coup. And if I was going to do a coup, one of the last people I would want to do it with is Mark General Milley. Trump added that Milley, who likened Trump to Hitler and worried that he would use the military for nefarious purposes at the end of his term, possibly for a coup or a war overseas, is certainly not the kind of person I would be talking coup with. I'm not into coups, Trump added. Bolton's assessment was similar to that of a history professor specializing in fascism who's, oh Jesus fucking Christ! That stupid fucking word is coming out too. Spoke to Insider in June of 2020. Somebody who's totally erratic and has no ultimate vision and is basically knee-jerking all the time, it's almost a misuse of the term to flatter them with political science term because it gives their behavior a sort of Machiavellian subtlety, which it lacks in the case of Trump. Roger Griffin, author of The Nature of Fascism and emeritus professor in modern history at Oxford Brookes University, told Insider, big fucking shock. While Bolton dismissed the notion of Trump having the intellectual and strategic rigor to pull off a coup, he noted that his former boss was still able to use chaos to his advantage. What he was capable of was on a daily basis doing something more and more outrageous than he had done the day before, he said, all to the same end of staying in power. You know, like Hong Kong, the totally free and fair election that put Biden into power. Hong Kong. The totally free and fair election where nothing went wrong, in spite of the fact that Arizona is starting to bring out more facts and the left-wing media is trying to scramble behind them at this point. Hong Kong. Totally free and fair. Biden got more votes than any other president in history. Honk. More popular than Barack Obama. Hong Kong. So, that's where we go from that. From Politico. More Bolton news. Bolton, U.S. didn't lose the war in Afghanistan. We also didn't lose Vietnam. From Quentin Forgy. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton insisted on Friday that the U.S. had not lost the war in Afghanistan while criticizing the President Biden's order for a full military withdrawal from the country. Of course he did, because he wants to stay over there forever. Because he's a miserable fucking war hawk. And he was the reason that we got into a war we never should have been in the first place. Bolton, who served as a high-ranking State Department official under former President W. at the time of the initial U.S. military invasion of Afghanistan in October of 2001, maintained that America's armed forces did not lose the two-decade conflict, but simply had walked away from it. Yeah, when we did the same thing with Vietnam, they told us that we lost. God, I hate Bolton. God, I hate Bolton with a fiery passion. We weren't defeated, Bolton told CNN in an interview. You have to be defeated to lose a war. We've given up because we've lost patience. That's a sad commentary about the current administration, but it's not a defeat for the United States. No, it's a defeat. Lick your wounds and let's get the fuck out of here. In a White House address last Thursday, Biden announced that the drawdown of U.S. troops in Afghanistan will be completed by August 31st, ahead of his self-imposed deadline of September 11th, but far, far after the deadline of May 1st that we were supposed to be on. General Scott Miller, the top American general in Afghanistan, departed the country on Monday. So, what country predominantly filled with brown kids is he going to go and bomb next? Meanwhile, the Taliban has continued to make rapid gains across Afghanistan, claiming Friday that it seized 85% of the country's territory. Western officials have warned the U.S.-backed Afghan government that Kabul could fall soon. The criticism from Bolton, who went on to serve as Bush's U.S. ambassador to the UN before returning to government as former President Trump's national security advisor, comes after Bush himself denounced the drawdown in an interview on Wednesday. "Oh, gee wilkers, I set up this old military thing here, and I set this all up, and they're going to end it here, and I didn't get all my congratulations from this." That's fucking W right there. "We're going to stay in the Middle East forever because Daddy said that the Middle East was bad." Fuck Bush. And fuck Bolton, too. We are defeated because it's almost impossible to take that land. And we shouldn't never been there in the first place. God, I hate Bolton. From CBS 2 and KCAL 9, after 3 separate venue cancellations, America First rally organizers hold impromptu rally at Riverside City Hall. From CBS LA staff. After 3 separate attempts to hold an America First rally were canceled by Southland venues, organizers held an impromptu rally outside the Riverside City Hall on Saturday. Congress members Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a plant, were forced to downsize to a small protest in Riverside and are now threatening a lawsuit over all the cancellations. That's funny, because California isn't anywhere near Florida or Georgia. Therefore, you're going to reach out to constituents that you don't even have. The Anaheim Event Center was the 3rd venue to cancel on the organizers. Anaheim officials say they expressed safety concerns with the private venue, and the operator shared those concerns. The event was also canceled at 2 previous venues in Laguna Hills and Riverside. Gaetz and Greene spoke for just a short time at each at the impromptu Riverside event. "They may try to shut down our venues, but we will take the fight to them and in courts, in the halls of Congress if necessary, in the streets," Gaetz said. Hinting at a lawsuit over the cancellations, Greene and Gaetz stirred up the crowd and then left. Supporters and protesters were gathered on the opposite side of the street. What they're saying about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz is just horrible. It's not true, Tori Neely, who attended the Riverside rally, said. "They must be dangerous. They must be worried about them because they're not going to quit fighting for America. We're not going to lose our country. We're not going to socialism." Yeah, but Marjorie Taylor Greene is a plant, so she might actually be pushing into socialism, and you just don't know it yet. So, there's that. That's blah-de-blah-de-blah. From the Hill. Megan Fox. Critics who bash Trump legend remark have a burn a witch at the stake mentality. From Judy Kurtz. Actress Megan Fox is pushing back on critics who bashed her for referring to former President Trump as a legend, saying they have a burn a witch at the stake mentality. "I do not align myself with any political party or individual politicians," the Till Death Star said in a statement posted on Wednesday on her Instagram story. Fox had caught flack for her appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live this week, in which she reflected on being seated in the same row as Trump at the recent UFC match in Vegas. "He was a legend, that arena. It was very supportive of Trump when he came in," Fox told guest host Arsenio Hall on the show. "I never said Donald Trump is a legend. I said he was a legend in that arena." Key part of the sentence, Fox wrote to her nearly 13 million Instagram followers. The arena was filled with UFC fight fans, many of them clearly Republicans, based on the insane crowd reaction he received walking into the T-Mobile venue, Fox said. "That was an observable fact, not my opinion," she added. So, yeah. Megan Fox is really good looking, but I don't understand why they want her in the political arena. I'm sure that California has given her some of the leftist vibe, but, the idea that taxation might be theft might have pulled her off into liberty, but I mean, yeah, if you don't come out and say that this man is uniquely evil and fascistic, then at which point you are, as she mentioned, burned at the stake. From CNBC, this will affect you guys who have kids. Child tax credit payments could act as stimulus for retailers as soon as this month. From Melissa Repko. Grocery stores, big box retailers, and even auto mechanics could pick up sales in the coming months thanks to a new source of cash, monthly payments that go directly into parents and caretakers' bank accounts. Starting Thursday, families will receive money for each of their children. The enhanced child tax credits passed as part of the American Rescue Plan are intended to fight child poverty. For retailers, however, they could also act as a stimulus that encourages spending on food, school supplies, clothes, or even a car payment. It's a good thing for Walmart and grocery stores, said Jim Sullivan, an economics professor at University of Notre Dame, who is studying the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on Americans living in poverty. The retail sectors where middle and lower income families spend money are likely to benefit some from this. The payments will be the latest government-funded cash infusion. Retailers, including Walmart and Best Buy, have said they saw a spending bump after consumers received stimulus checks. Some customers have also had extra money from federal unemployment benefits, which many states recently ended. Congress has no plans for a fourth stimulus check. No, but what they're doing right now, and a lot of this is optics, you're not going to get as much back at the end of the year because you're using your child tax credit now, throughout the year. So that big tax return you thought you were going to get back at the end of the year, you're getting it now. And you're going to be really disappointed when your tax person comes back and say, you owe X amount. Sorry, you already used up your child tax credit. You can't use that anymore. So that's going to make for an interesting January through April of 2022. But really, honestly, I mean, we're looking at this and we knew this was going to happen. It's the same thing that happens when you get your tax return. When you get your tax refund back from the government, it generally goes into a big box store. And I've talked about this before too. You know, where people, and what did I say? I said that people should be getting, I forget what it was I was talking about. Oh, the student loan thing. When I made my suggestion for how to deal with student loans and the student loan crisis. One of the things that I suggested was that we get everybody back to principal only and forgive the interest just once throughout this. But then the people who were responsible and paid it all off get a chance to file with an accountant to find out how much interest they paid into the federal government, and that's refundable back to them over 10 years on their tax return. They can enter the amount that's 10% of their interest and get that back, and they're going to turn around. They're going to spend that in the big box stores. Yes, it's going to make your Walmart richer, your car dealer richer, or your Home Depot richer. They're going to turn around and spend this on home improvements or whatnot. But I mean, it's the same thing with the child tax credit. They're going to go spend it on food. They're going to go spend it in Walmart. They're going to fix their kitchen, make a car payment. It is going to make the rich richer. But it's also the optics to say, hey, see how nice it is to get a monthly check every month? You should love this forever, you guys. All right, next one here, coming from NBC News. Federal judge declares DACA program illegal, but halts only new applications. So this was an interesting one, especially given my thoughts on DACA. From Pete Williams, a federal judge in Texas on Friday, declared illegal the federal program that has allowed nearly 800,000 young people brought to the U.S. illegally as children to avoid deportation and remain in the country. The U.S. District Court Judge Andrew Hanen in Brownsville said the Obama admin failed to follow federal administrative rules, launching the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program in 2012, but he put the effect of most of his ruling on hold while the case is appealed. It is not equitable for a government program that has engendered such significant reliance to terminate suddenly, Hanen said. As a result, the status of people currently in the program does not change, and they can continue to seek renewal of the DACA status. But he said the DHS cannot grant any new applications from people who have never been in the program before. Despite its limited short-term impact, the ruling is likely to put up new pressure on Congress and the Biden admin to come up with a permanent fix if they want to continue the program. Speaker Pelosi predicted the ruling would be stayed and the Democrats would continue to press for any and all paths to ensure the Dream and Promise Act, now passed twice by the House, becomes the law of the land. The ACLU said DACA should be protected. Dreamers' futures shouldn't be in the hands of the courts, the civil rights group tweeted. I've already made a solo video on how to fix DACA. I've actually made like 6 solo videos on how to fix DACA. And DACA is unconstitutional, but it's illegal and it's immoral. It is all of these things all wrapped up into one, and people still think it's the be-all, end-all. Meanwhile, people who are my age, in their 30s, don't know election cycle over election cycle if they're going to be deported or can make a long-term decision and stay in the country and work. And how can you live if you don't know? If you don't know what's going to happen to you day after day, day in and day out, then yeah, there's no reason for you to be on this. And what this doesn't end the DACA program, first and foremost. It does end the new applications, but everybody who's already in the program is grandfathered in. But it also kicks it back to Congress, which it should have come out of in the first place. If that's how we want to do election law, that should have come out of Congress. But instead, we continue to see this on the executive program over and over and over again forever, where people can't make plans because, I mean, every time a new person runs for president, oh my God, this person's going to end DACA, you better vote for the Democrat. Oh my God, this person's going to end DACA, you better vote for the Democrat. Oh my God, this person's going to end DACA. Make sure that you vote in the primary for this Democrat because he's going to keep DACA in forever. When this should have always been a legislative program. This should never have been in the executive branch. Period. Full stop. But we'll see what happens off of this. I'm sure that Republicans are going to turn over and cuck on the thing and just, we'll give you nothing. We'll take nothing, and we'll just give you whatever it is that you want. From the Blaze. I hate that Levine has his fucking name at the top of this. Rob Whitman calls on Speaker Pelosi to cancel August recess. With so much work left to be done, it boggles the mind as to why anyone would feel justified in taking a month off. From Alex Nitzberg. Rob Whitman of Virginia is calling on the House Speaker to cancel the Congressional Chamber's upcoming August recess, arguing that lawmakers should not leave town before completing the American people's business. With less than 2 weeks in session before Congress takes our taxpayer-funded recess, the full House has yet to even complete one of the 12 fiscal year 2022 appropriations bills that fund the government. As I did in an earlier letter on June 9th, I again encourage you to cancel the August district work period and keep members in Washington, D.C. as long as it takes to complete the work of the people, Whitman wrote in his latest letter to Pelosi. With so much work left to be done, it boggles the mind as to why anyone would feel justified in taking a month off, he wrote. Whitman's new letter comes as he sent a similar letter to Pelosi last month. I appreciate that district work period allows members to visit with constituents back in their respective communities, but it's become a habit for Congress to abandon the long to-do list in a rush to get out of town, he noted in the June letter. But Congress has not done its job. Our constituents expect us to stay and complete the work of the American people. The American people expect Congress to work diligently to pass critical national priorities and fund the government through regular order. So, I don't agree with Mr. Whitman at this point. He comes in and says they need to come back and pass more laws and do the will of the people. No. Let them go find out what the will of the people is. They're supposed to be spending more time in their districts than they are in D.C. And I don't know how they got fucking flip-flopped around. You are a servant of the people who elected you. You are not some all-powerful god that sits on a high Mount Olympus that's in the swamp in Washington, D.C. that was donated by Maryland. That's not what you are. You are a congressperson. You are a public servant. Go find out what the public wants. And you too, Whitman, by the way. From the New York Times, a former newspaper. We got just a couple more here, and then we're going to do a Ferengi rule of acquisition and head out of here for the day. But From the New York Times, a former newspaper, can the Black Rifle Coffee Company become the Starbucks of the right? After they threw Kyle Rittenhouse under the bus and started selling in grocery stores. From Jason Zangirle. Like most Americans, Evan Hafer experienced the January 6th Selfie Fest from a distance, watching it unfold on his television and his iPhone from Salt Lake City. What he saw did not surprise him. Hafer, who was 44, voted for Trump. He was even open at first to the possibility that Trump's claims of sweeping voter fraud were legitimate, until Bill Barr, Trump's attorney general, declared in early December that he could find no evidence such fraud occurred. I found no evidence because I didn't care enough because we got the swamp back in. Still, Hafer told me recently, you're told by the commander-in-chief for months that the election was stolen. You're going to have a group of people who are really pissed. While he disapproved of those who stormed the Capitol, he didn't believe that they or their actions constituted a real threat to the Republic. I've seen an insurrection, said Hafer, a former Green Beret and a CIA contractor who served in Afghanistan and Iraq. I know what that looks like. But Haver's distance from the incident collapsed that same afternoon when he was alerted to a picture taken by a Getty photographer in the Senate chamber that immediately went viral. The photo showed a masked man vaulting over a banister holding several sets of plastic restraints, an apparent sign that the insurrectionists planned to take the lawmakers hostage. Or, one guy decided to do something really fucking stupid. The unidentified man, soon dubbed as the zip tie guy, was dressed in a tactical vest, carried a taser, and wore a baseball hat with an image of an assault rifle silhouetted against the American flag, a design sold by the Black Rifle Coffee Company, of which Hafer is the chief executive. I was like, oh, shit, he recalled. Here we go again. Yeah, no, mysteriously, this is the one guy who was wearing a mask at a time where Trump supporters were against wearing masks. This is the only guy who was wearing a mask, by the way, in this entire ordeal. And the only person that the FBI can't identify. Weird how that works. They can't identify the mysterious zip tie guy who had a viral photo taken of him by Getty Images and put out there to tell you that Black Rifle Coffee is evil. Yeah, this doesn't smell like a fucking plant or anything. Jesus Christ, this one is glowing. This one is glowing beyond fucking glowing. Black Rifle was founded in 2014 by Hafer and two fellow veterans who served in Afghanistan and Iraq, and who were enthusiastic enlistees of America's culture wars too. The company billed itself as pro-military, pro-law enforcement, and anti-hipster. Early customers could download a shooting target from the company's Facebook page that featured a bow-tied man with a handlebar mustache. Its early coffees included Silencer Smooth Roast and the AK-47 Espresso Blend. During Trump's presidency, Black Rifle's gleeful provocations grew more directly political and endorsed Trump's Muslim ban. And there was no Muslim ban, by the way, and bought Google ads based on searches for Kofefe. They should be running Trump's comms shop, the alt-right conspiracy theorist Jack Posobiec. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. He's not a conspiracy theorist, and he's not alt-right, by the way, either. Wrote in a tweet praising the Google maneuver. Before long, Black Rifle became the unofficial coffee of the MAGA universe, winning public endorsements from Sean Hannity and Donald Trump Jr., and then they decided to throw Kyle Rittenhouse under the bus at the last second, who did nothing wrong. So, fuck these guys. I don't care if they become the coffee of the MAGA people or not. Really, honestly. They will not get a cent of business from me. I can tell you that right off the bat. They will not get a penny of business off of me. They burned that fucking bridge long ago. Alright, some Olympic stuff here. Tokyo 2020 bubble under stress as Thomas Bach reassures hosts. Sports Pro Media gives no author. International Olympic Committee, IOC President Thomas Bach has claimed Tokyo 2020 participants pose no risk of spreading the pinko fucking pox. In a meeting with Tokyo Governor Yuriko Koike, Bach stressed that the strict rules of the Tokyo 2020 playbooks to prevent infections are being enforced and are working. As Kamikuf cases in the host city continue to rise, the IOC president said the Olympics will be the most restricted sports event ever in the world, and the event can be held safely because of various measures to avoid the risk of infection. But according to Japanese media reports, the Olympic bubble to contain athletes and related officials from spreading the pinko pox has already burst. Tokyo's state of emergency won't stop the Olympics from taking place, says IOC's John Coates. Japan's Asahi Shimbun claims the procedures to separate people related to the Olympics and general public are failing. Citing the arrival of an Olympic delegation from Brazil at Tokyo's Haneda International Airport, the publication reported that some of the Brazilians stopped to take selfies and fist bump with other passengers. Others in the Olympic party have also been recorded by TV cameras taking strolls outside the Olympic Village. The Tokyo Games Organizing Committee also confirmed 15th of July that another athlete who arrived at the country less than 14 days ago has tested positive for the pinko fucking pox. So, are we going to get Olympics at this point? I don't know, because I think that Japan is going to try everything they can to make sure that they get this shit shut down. And they're trying. I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but they sure are trying. So, all right, two more. From CBS 11 and CBS 21 out of Dallas-Fort Worth. Monkeypox infection reported in Dallas, resident officials say. From CBS Dallas-Fort Worth staff. North Texas health officials have reported a case of monkeypox in a Dallas resident who recently traveled from overseas. The Dallas County Health and Human Services Department said the resident, who was not identified, traveled from Nigeria to Dallas and arrived at Dallas Love Field Airport on July 9th of 2021. The resident is currently being treated at a hospital and is in stable condition. The department said the CDC is working with the airline and other health officials to determine if there was any contact between the resident and other passengers. Monkeypox is an infectious disease that can be spread through contact, especially through respiratory droplets. The droplets! Wear the mask! Wear the mask! Is this going to be the next panic attack in this country? Are we going to mask up forever because now the monkeypox is here and it's going to come and it's going to affect everybody? Oh, well, we can't blame China for this one anymore. Health officials believe the risk of spread through respiratory droplets on the flight was low due to passengers being required to wear a face mask amid the continuing commie goof pandemic. While this case is rare and is not a reason for alarm, we do not expect any threat to the general public. Dallas County Health and Human Services is working closely with local providers as well as our state and federal partners, said Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins. Well, we got to watch for this one here because this could be the next one that they lock us and weld us in our homes for 2 fucking years over. Is make sure you go and get your monkeypox fucking vax, you guys. Get the vax, get the vax. Oh my God, get the vax. All right, one more, and then we will do one of the rules of acquisition and head out of here. And this one comes to us via the Daily Wire. Hunter Biden's prosecutor rejected legal actions that would have revealed investigation during election. From Ryan Saavedra. Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss decided against taking certain legal actions like issuing search warrants or grand jury subpoenas that would have alerted the American public to the fact that then Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden's son Hunter was under federal criminal investigation during the 2020 presidential election campaign. Politico reports that the investigation reached a point last summer, months before Election Day, where investigators could have made moves that would have ultimately alerted the public to the fact that Joe Biden's son was under criminal investigation, but Weiss decided against that. So there you go. And you have to imagine if the shoe was on the other foot. If this was Don Jr., if they'd be doing the same thing at this point. I don't have to go in this article. We all know what happened with this. He dropped the laptop off at the computer shop. It had a bunch of incriminating documents on it. Nobody knows why he dropped it off at the computer shop. The owner took possession of it because it was left behind and turned it over to the FBI, who, again, continued to sit on the fucking thing until after the election. Corruption at one of its highest forms. And the media and law enforcement agencies all colluding together with the Biden admin to get rid of the evil orange man. All right, the last one that we do on a Monday is Ferengi rules of acquisition. So we are on, where are we on? We are on number 10, the 10th rule of acquisition today. The 10th rule of acquisition is a fairly simple one. It's one that we all know. It's one that drives our economy. It's one that drives socialists to come and want parts of our economy to be given to them for nothing. The 10th rule of acquisition is simply greed is eternal, which it is. So with that, we can come back here and we can blackpill ourselves out of the fact that greed is going to drive our economy. It's going to make us bad people. It's going to make us steal. It's going to make us want. It's going to make people to want socialism come in to take away from people who had it good. But we can look at this as a good thing as well. Now, greed is eternal, obviously, as a mantra of the Ferengi, because that's part of what drives their religion. Their society is an ultra-capitalist society. But when we look at this and we can take this into our own society and use this in our own lives, remember, greed is eternal. I think George Carlin said it best. You know, he was complaining about the Ten Commandments, and one of them that was coveting, which he was completely misunderstood on what coveting was and how it's used it was used in the biblical times to write the Ten Commandments. And the thing that he points out is the fact that, you know, coveting drives the U.S. economy because greed drives the U.S. economy. We all want to get ahead. We all want more. And some of us want to use the government to get us more, but some of us want to go and work hard and build something from the ground up so we can have more. But we all want more. That's what's driving us all together, is we all want more. We want a bigger piece of that pie. And we know that our customers want a bigger piece of that pie. I know my customers want to have news delivered to them every morning. Some of them want me to interact with the chat, but unfortunately, for most days, I can't interact with the chat because I do have to run out of here after work. Today I don't because it's Monday, but usually I do have to go running out of here after work, which is why I relegated all to Friday. And I write everybody's names down, and I thank you guys all very kindly for coming in and chatting, but this is a headline show. That's what it was. And I've noticed there are a lot of live streams out there that don't interact with the chat throughout the live stream. So, I mean, it's not a unique thing off of this either, but that's what people want, is the news coming out here. And I'm hoping that people also want news coming from people who go to work every day, people who aren't rich, people who aren't fucking loaded. That's why we're building what we're building right now over here. That I let the title slip of, but that's going to be coming up in the near future. So definitely check out that as well. But absolutely, greed is eternal. If your neighbor, and this is going back to quote George Carlin, if your neighbor gets a dildo that plays "O Come All Ye Faithful," you want to get one too. Maybe you don't want the one that your neighbor has, but you want to get one just like it. You want to have that money, those possessions. You want to have that nice car, that nice truck, because, you know, it's how you get ahead in life. That's how society deems you as a worthwhile member of society. When you're driving a rusted out S10, people think that you're some kind of jackass that doesn't really participate in society. But when you've got that nice 2014 F-150, people think, oh, now there's a guy that's got his shit together. Even though I don't. People look at my truck and say, yeah, that guy's got his shit together. So, greed is eternal. Use it to your advantage. Whether it's selling something, whether it's providing a service for somebody, people are going to want stuff off of you. So sell it to them. And that's going to be it for the day. All right, let's throw some music up. Let's head out of here for the day. Where's the music? Where's the music? Where's the music? Where's the scene? Where's the scene? All right, those of you on Twitch, stick around. We're going to go raid my friend Stephen Ignoramus in just a second here. So come back and hang out in his chat as well. But thanks everybody who came by, chatted in the live chat. All your names will be written down at the end of this, and I do read all of your all your chats too, by the way. And I do want to point that out to, who was it? Official X Subject. As I do read all your chats, I just don't do it on air. So I will see everything that you guys say. But yeah, stick around. Come hang out with my friend Steven in just a second. Otherwise, we'll be back here tonight with the Red Net Show featuring John from the Generational Gap, who felt bad that he had to ditch on one of the episodes of Contemporary last week, and he's going to come back and hang out and hang on the other corner of the screen. So definitely looking forward to that. I like John. John's a good guy. So come hang out with us, and we will do some more live chat on that one. I do more live chat on that show than I do on this show. So come back, hang out with us. We do take questions in between topics, so come back and Stick around for that. Otherwise, we will see you here tomorrow morning with more headlines on Contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.